Good morning to everybody. It is a great pleasure to start a wonderful scientific discussion which will be focused on e-leadership in municipal organizations. And today we have the honor to present some results from the international project on this topic, which is funded by the Baltic-German University Liaison Office, and it's a great pleasure for us to have the Executive Director of the Baltic-German University Liaison Office, dear Eva Pranka, and we would like to ask her to give us a short welcome speech for our participants. So, dear Eva, maybe you would like to turn on your microphone and to start.
Yes, good morning, dear ladies and gentlemen. I'm very delighted to be here and to hear something more about results and to greet you all at this international discussion which is taking place within the project that was supported by the Baltic-German University Liaison Office. And I would like not take a lot of time of your discussion, just a couple of minutes, and very shortly introduce you briefly to our office, those who don't know our office. So the aim of the Baltic-German University Liaison Office is to function as a scientific bridge between the Baltic states and Germany, but moreover to provide also a platform for scholars and scientists to discuss topical issues of science. And we are aiming to play an active role by initiating between Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia and Germany, also through our annual project competition. So I'm really pleased about the decision to support your project, as it aims to continue the collaboration in research of Baltic-German expert group of e-leadership in public contexts. So e-leadership is not just a buzzword, it's a strategic imperative for municipal organizations. And by embracing digital transformation, fostering transparency and putting the needs of our communities at the forefront, we can lead our cities into a more connected, responsive and sustainable future. Therefore, research in this area I find very crucial. So I would like to thank the whole project team and partners for their interest in cooperation and the participation in the project. And it's a great pleasure to cooperate with Dr. Rita Toleikienė and her team again. And I'm convinced that this project is strengthening the research capacities of your institutions, and I hope that this fruitful cooperation will continue also in future. And with this, I would like also to invite other scientists and academic staff to consider collaboration with German universities and scientific institutions to take part in our project competition. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much for Eva Pranka, Executive Director of the Baltic-German University Liaison Office. And it's a great pleasure for us to have you here because this scientific project gave us an opportunity to collaborate by international level as well interinstitutional level, and it's a great pleasure to have today our colleagues who were involved in this scientific project. And I would like to introduce Professor Dr. Irma Rybnikova from Hamm-Lippstadt University of Applied Sciences, Germany, who was visionary of our research direction. So thank you, dear Irma, for being here today and for possibility to discuss with you our results. As well, we have Professor Dr. Iveta Reinholde from University of Latvia, who, together with Associated Professor Dr. Inese Abolina, were representing the part of Latvia and gave main insights from this neighboring country. Good morning, Iveta. Nice to see you and happy to have you here. At the same time, it's my great pleasure to present Rita Toleikienė, who is the leader of this project from the Vilnius University, Lithuania. And I'm very glad to be here with you today. My name is Vita Juknevičienė, and I will moderate this discussion today. So for the beginning and for the possibility to discuss issues with our participants who are not only scientists but as well practitioners in municipal organizations, we should start with some implications from Lithuanian, German and Latvian practices. So if you do not mind, I will give you some main insights from the common sense of the project. Later on, I will shortly present some results from Lithuania, and I will ask my colleagues, Dr. Iveta Reinholde and Dr. Irma Rybnikova, to present the results from their own countries. As I'm sharing the presentation, I will guide you through these slides. So, dear colleagues, just let me know when I have to move another slide, and I will assist you. So, first of all, we would like to share some main information about the project and the methods we have used in our research. Later on, we will shortly present our research and main insights. And at the end, we will find possibility to give you some main implications and some conclusions from our research, asking you some particular questions. As I have mentioned, this project was supported by the German Academic Exchange Service DAD with funds from the Foreign Office of Federal Republic of Germany. So this project belongs to the Baltic-German University Liaison Office, and it's a great honor for us to participate in it. So first of all, when we are talking about e-leadership, it's very important to make an agreement on the concept. And from our research team, it was focused on e-leadership as a social influence process, which is embedded in some ICT tools which are used by supervisors in the relationship with employees. In previous days, before the pandemic, majority of communication and relations and management and leadership processes were based on face-to-face communication. While during the pandemic, we found out that everything, like in the rest of the world, municipal organizations must move on the ICT tools, special platforms, sharing some ideas and communicating and managing and controlling all the process during ICT tools. However, our project was focused on post-pandemic situation analysis because it was really interesting what has remained or what has changed. And of course, it is very important, as already Executive Director Eva Pranka has mentioned, that e-leadership is a very essential subject of the nowadays, practices of digitalization in public administrations and public sector. The project was, as I mentioned, focused on the post-pandemic analysis, and we are very happy that our partnership, which started in 2019, due to the same Baltic-German University Liaison Office funded project, we were focusing on e-leadership practices in municipal administrations just before the pandemic. And we are very happy that we have an opportunity to continue our research in the post-pandemic context. And our partners remain the same, except Estonian part, which is not included in the post-pandemic analysis, but we really believe that the cases from Latvia and Lithuania, as well as Germany, gives an opportunity for us to explore this phenomenon of e-leadership, as well as give some main insights which might be useful for leadership processes management in the future. Of course, what we have used as our research method, because we had the aim to analyze the post-pandemic situation of e-leadership in municipal administrations, and we focused on three mentioned countries, we have conducted this research in several months, starting from February and ending in September. And of course, in October, we still work on some reports. And the main method we have used were focus groups with leaders and employees of municipal administrations. So now we would like, together with my colleague Rita, we would like to focus on the Lithuanian case. And as you know, during the pandemic, a lot of different digital platforms have been introduced to public sector. And it can be seen even through our research, because our focus groups were conducted using different platforms. In our case, we have used MS Teams as today, and the duration of our focus groups were approximately around 120 minutes. And we have 5 participants from the same municipality, which was included to the research in 2019 research, and it was the municipality from the region of the university. We have 2 persons which are particularly in the supervisory position and 3 persons as ordinary employees. And we have presented different departments of the project management and the city coordination. So what we have found, what were the main insights from our research? First of all, during the pandemic, the hybrid mode or remote working mode was taken as the main one. But in the post-pandemic situation, this opportunity still remains according to some legal acts, to the legal regulations, which were set in the national level as well as in the institutional level. What we found out that there is still some exceptional cases when employees might use this remote working mode due to illness or burning out. But when we talked with employees, they told us that this remote working mode might become a very positive motivational tool, motivating them to be more productive or to give some results in this fast and qualitative way. So we should think about this. When we talked about the possibilities or needs for training, what we figure out in Lithuanian case that during the pandemic, there were so many trainings and consultations, and even now employees and supervisors help each other to manage with some ICT tools which are needed for daily practices and leadership processes. So there was no very clear explicit need for additional training or some additional topics of training. However, we were focusing on the attitude from municipal administrations. Should we use these ICT tools more on leadership and daily practices? And what we found that there was differences in the opinion if the productivity of employees is changing or not while working remotely. So we found different opinions about that. So because of the decreasing, let's say, productivity issues or some abundances of duties, there might be increased performance control, which belong to the specifics of departments of them or the management style. However, what we figure out that the formal communication with colleagues remained during the pandemic and in the post-pandemic situation. However, the employees and supervisors still lack the communication with others, especially when we talk about informal communication. However, when we talk about the professional socialization, during the pandemic, leaders felt some kind of social isolation. And still there is a culture based on the competition between departments which influence the style of the more needed or more demanding on face-to-face communication rather than ICT tools usage. But what we found interesting during the post-pandemic period, there was very small expectations for leaders. For example, one group said that they have no expectations for leaders at all because according to them, the whole performance and even burning out management might depend on the employee personally, not on supervisor support. However, one of our respondents said that they need some time for preparation, more time for preparation, not reacting to the situation like burning issues or hot issues, because they need time to think and to create new ideas. So Here we provided some interesting citations, some quotes from our interviews from our focus groups with a group of employees from municipal administrations. And what we found very interesting, and we would like to quote it, that one of the supervisors said that first of all, the public sector must open up and become competitive. On the other hand, the person says, I'm convinced that not this decade, not for our generation which works in the public sector, there is a work from home. And from the point of view of employee, it was really interesting to hear. Good if you know that there is a leader in the team who has ideas, who is international, who is open to innovation. But sometimes that administrative burden and all that bureaucracy, that swamp, engulfs you and there is no time left for dreams. So those are very imaginary, visionary quotes, which says that sometimes if you want to implement some innovations or connected with digitalization, they need some time to think and create those special innovations, which are unfortunately reduced by the level of bureaucracy and time limits. And I would like now to ask Professor Irma Rybnikova to go through the German case.
Thank you, Vita. I will present now our results from Germany, and similar like in the Lithuanian case, we have conducted an online focus group, however, not in the format of MS Teams, but as WebEx meetings, since in Germany, in German public sector organizations, WebEx is the mostly used platform for video conferencing, and all our participants were quite familiar with that. So our focus group lasted not 2 hours like in Lithuanian case, only 87 minutes, and we also have asked and had just 5 participants of our focus group from 2 municipalities in the region where our university is located, and among those 5 participants, 3 were supervisors and 2 remaining participants were without supervisor position, so just employees. And in one case, there were employee of one supervisor participating in, so we have a very interesting group at the end. And in terms of departments that are represented in our focus group, we can say that these are quite different, beginning with personnel management department being their organizational department, as well as adult education, which is only one part of municipality in Germany. Next slide, please. Thank you. So what are the main results from German case? They are quite similar to those from Lithuania, but also they have particular differences to Lithuanian results. When we have asked our participants about the most relevant changes because of the pandemic period, all participants have mentioned that there is very huge improvement in technical equipment, given that German public sector was quite bad in digital terms before the pandemic. It seems to be the case that the pandemic period has forced municipalities to absolutely great digital equipment and digital practices. So all employees of municipalities were equipped with relevant hard and software, and everyone has already experiences in hybrid work, meaning that independent from the concrete department, every employee and every supervisor have a possibility to make remote working and hybrid work in terms of some days working at home and some days per week working in the office is the regular mode here. So not like in Lithuanian case where there's only an exception. In Germany there is a regular case of working in a hybrid mode. In terms of challenges that result from e-leadership in the post-pandemic period, the German participants have explained that these challenges are quite manifold. On the one side, they are pointing to the multi-channeled communication challenge, especially supervisors are saying that they have to consider quite different informations coming from different channels, from emails, from video conferencing, from personal talks, from chats, and it's just a lot of information, and they are experiencing a permanent informational overload, and they are missing some kind of concentration on two channels that are used by all employees in a similar mode. So concentration of information is still an issue they are tackling with. The next great challenge for all participants is maintaining social relations in team. Given the fact that hybrid work is quite regularly used in German municipalities, where employees are individually choosing between their remote work and working in the office, the occasions where all employees are in their offices and can make informal talks and discussions, they are quite seldom. At the end, all participants are saying that they are missing social interactions with their colleagues as well as with their supervisors. And it seems to be a relevant issue and topic for municipalities, as already some practices are there, like social rituals, including birthday rounds or ice cream rounds, where all employees are invited to take part. However, participants are mentioning that often this is not the case. Most useful, there are only few employees that make some break and go together collectively to next ice cream break and enjoy short time together. So this is an absolutely relevant challenge still. And the last topic that is, thank you, Vita. The last topic as a challenge was burnout of employees. Given the fact that particular remote work often can lead to overwork and additional working hours, supervisors are quite sensitive regarding this topic. They, at the same time, are saying that burnout as personal issue is not their responsibility. Nevertheless, they see it as their job to ask for health issues and for well-being among their employees, and this is still some kind of dilemma, not to be too authoritative about personal issue of health, but at the same time to be open towards discussions about that and towards potential problems in terms of health issues. So at the end, what are the expectations regarding leadership and e-leadership in particular? It's quite interesting. Participants from Germany are saying e-leadership is nothing special. Much more, what remains relevant is still social leadership, with the help of communication via technology or without technology. So leaders are expected to be socially, socially, let me say, skilled. That means leaders are expected to show empathy, to give feedback, to give appreciation, and this appreciation by leaders can also be executed, so to say, via smileys on WhatsApp or short text. The most relevant thing is to be acknowledged by the supervisor and by the leader. And this is the most, the most issue, as employees have mentioned. So the next slide, please. To illustrate it, I have chosen this interview quote by an employee who is saying, "It's also important to me that you can talk to each other as equals, that there is an empathy on both sides, that you have an understanding for each other, that you know what's expected from you, why you might not be able to fulfill it at a moment, why you can do it later," something like that. I think this is more important than digital skills or tools. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Irma. And now we would like to move to Professor Iveta, who will present results from Latvia.
Yeah, good morning, I suppose. Still for us, it's still morning. Yes. So in Latvian case, we had the Zoom meetings or the Zoom focus group with different participants representing 3 different municipalities. And I know that looking through my notes, I also found out some of those interesting tendencies that are really interesting, how employees are using some kind of leadership, remote work for their own benefit, even they are not ready to recognize whatever it is. But we started to look at the municipalities and municipal departments. So actually these are so-called central administration of all municipalities, and of course there were people as from the personal department or personal management, as well from related general organizations. So next slide, please. And results show that of course the remote work is a benefit, because it was showed that now they have more flexibility, now they have more time also to balance work and private life issues. At the same time, yes, they recognize that much more time is necessary to spend in the communication. And in this respect, I also should know that during our focus group, there was some kind also, I would say, complaining issue, because there were respondents who wanted to say loudly that, I have this inequality feeling that in our municipalities we have departments and we have staff who are allowed to work remote the whole week, but we are supposed to be at office at least 3 days per week. It's not fair, and management should do something about this, and you should do something about this. So actually, from one point of view, it's let's say measurable benefits, but from the other point of view, it also leads to some kind of, I would say, sense of social justice that is extremely important here, so that remote work, all these e-leadership tools are applied equally to all of those employees. Of course, more or less they quite quickly adapted to the new technologies and to the work dynamic, but at the same time, again, they want to have some kind of extra support, because still those employees are human beings and they want to have social support. So the point is, e-leadership is very good, but hey guys, it does not provide in all cases necessary social emotional support that sometimes is expected when you have these face-to-face meetings in your the cabinet of your boss, where you can receive also some advices that goes beyond actually the direct tasks. Of course, this leads to communication, and in our case, respondents shared their practice that management clearly set out. Hey guys, you have to log in our system at least 2 times per day. One time is 10 o'clock in the morning, so that to check an emails, to respond and react, and the second time is 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which is again you should log in to check emails, to respond quickly, so that work goes on. But at the same time, again, emails are very good, but it is quite hard for them to set the tone of the words written down. And sometimes it depends very much of the perception, whether the tone is neutral, whether the tone is close to the screaming or yelling. So it's again part of this online communication that asks them, and one respondent also said we spend quite a lot of time discussing etiquette, how we communicate in emails, so that someone doesn't feel offended or doesn't perceive, if I'm writing down in caps locks, that it's me, that I'm screaming or yelling. So this is very important. So actually, again, I'm coming back to that social emotional support and face-to-face communication does not disappear. But what else? The use of all these online collaboration tools has increased seriously, and it's not just wide-known Miro or Mural or Kumu, which I suppose is quite popular in Germany. Jira, Atlassian, so they used a lot of those softs to communicate, to share documents, to share actually also some kind of charts, to share some kind of, I would say even more simple, quick thoughts and stuff like that. So this increased seriously. And some of them recognize that it's very nice to use some more tools except the classical Microsoft Word. However, it again requested additional efforts to learn to go through and to adopt to the tools. And of course, there were also some kind of conspiracy theory that they have a feeling that now we are, let's say, the same Jira, the boss might, or leader, or the manager might see the real time how we spend in the computer and the desktop. Yeah. Actually, it's true. It's not conspiracy theory. So let's go for the next slide. Whatever it is, at the end of the day, they expect from leaders guidance or direction, or I would say also social emotional support, which is very important. Effective communication, but it's not effective like just do it, which is effective if we just put it in a straightforward way, but effective in a way that really the sense of the sentence has been communicated so clearly that there is no options or rooms for misunderstandings. And of course, what they notice, decision making. In many cases, decision-making seems to be disappear in the virus. Seems to be that meeting online, everyone discussed, everyone participated, but if it's not clearly stated that no, you, John, or you, Anne, are responsible for this, this disappears in the virus, and no one is so ready to take the initiative. Let's see what's in the next slide. And yeah, so it's just to say that also the supervisors or managers, they recognize about the support and resources, not only for employees and citizens, but also at the same time, I like this a game changer. So the call rules has changed, and of course the employees are trying to find their way in these new type of roles. And rules, and of course And now they also are struggling. Do they belong to the organization if they are not coming and visiting an organization and just working remotely on the computer? Does it really create the sense of belonging? This is one of those, let's say, philosophic questions that they ask. What would happen if we will continue to work remotely for the next few years? Do we really will show affection? Do we have social bonds? Do we would feel some kind of psychological, emotional touch to the organization? So this are like open questions, and in many cases they simply ask those questions, but the focus group discussion really showed that this is on the agenda, and people keep considering those questions, because it's not anymore changing just relations between the leaders and followers, but it's changing the whole perception of organizations, and it's changing the whole perception of the work as we have seen it before. So what's the next slide? In my next slide, we came to the main insights and implications. Should I continue, or Rita, will you take it up, or whatever? How we should proceed, ladies?
I guess, Iveta, if you do not mind, I will take the floor now just to continue and to finish with our main results. So first of all, what we figure out that remote work is the motivational tool, and I guess this becomes like a similarity between the countries. However, the attitude towards remote working and its productivity differs according to the country. For example, it becomes shrinking in Lithuania. The increasing trust on productivity of remote work in Germany, and depending on situation on people in Latvia. However, digital skills and digital contexts requires us not only to use new digital skills and tools, but that the most important thing, as Professor Iveta has mentioned just now, but our social skills, and as Professor Irma has mentioned, it is very important, the empathy, feedback, and support. So managing social contacts and maintaining the spirit of the team would become, I guess, main challenges of e-leadership in municipalities in the future. And therefore, we have to get some organizational support for supervisors, for leaders if needed, but some of supervisors might see the need for trainings and workshops on e-leadership and how to manage with nowadays challenges while managing teams in hybrid mode. So those are the main insights from our research, what we wanted to emphasize. And now I would like maybe to encourage, if there are some questions, you may give those questions online via chat line, or just to raise hand and to unmute your microphone. But while we are waiting for some questions, maybe I can give you a provocative question, dear colleagues. We were talking about social relations, and Iveta Reinholde has raised some problematic questions. Do we still have social bonds, and do we still feel connection to organization as employees in municipal administrations? What kind of tendencies might appear in the upcoming future? Maybe we will come back to the previous situation when we were working just face-to-face, and we will have known the challenge, or it might increase. What is your opinion about German case, dear Professor Irma? Do we have any insights on possibility to strengthen social bonds between organization and employees in the future?
Thank you for your question and for raising this issue, Vita and Iveta. Well, as I tried to explain the results from the focus group in Germany, we see that their attempt to strengthen these social bonds among employees as well as between employees and the organization is the permanent challenge as well as permanent issue our participants of the focus group have addressed, and they also explain that they are trying to do that in their everyday work. For example, by initiating some happy birthday meetings or initiating such kind of social rituals for meeting for lunch and then going to the ice cream, for example, in the city. So in my opinion, in Germany, they are already all aware about these threats of being remote workers, and they are trying to compensate these decreasing social bonds by initiating and establishing additional social relations. And there are different modes of increasing social bonds, not only inside of the workplace, but also outside of that, like organizing some excursions as an employer, or informal meetings and parties where supervisor invites all employees of the department to go to some location and to have just absolutely funny day. And in my view, some kind of acknowledgement of problem because of remote working is already there in the praxis, and there are many experiments on that. And by the way, in relation to university, the municipal employees are already quite progressive in that term, since universities are not really dealing with social bonds or organizational identity. They are dealing with some different problems. And in municipalities, at least in Germany, they are experiencing a particular problem with getting and acquiring new employees. And because of that, they are already trying to increase their organizational identity by those mentioned practices and rituals. Yeah. So I guess that the decreasing, or not decreasing, but so to say, labor shortages for potential municipal employees are forcing municipalities to think about that much more than in the remaining parts of public sector potentially.
Thank you so much, Professor Irma. Professor Iveta, so you raised those questions about social bonds. Do you have any insights from Latvian case? How does this issue is managed in municipalities, or how are they trying to deal with that with like a challenge?
Well, frankly, it's not managed at all, because they are like at the position just to recognize that the social bonds or the organizational ties has been weakened. And they also recognize that in setting out the remote work, there should be some kind of feeling of social justice. So there shouldn't be that some employees have this chance to work the whole week remote, but some of them should pop up at the office at least 2 or 3 days per week, which creates that feeling of social injustice. Therefore, actually, the decisions made by leaders are mostly based on their prediction or intuition that what to do, and therefore they try to keep at least one meeting per week that happens face to face, because the role of the meeting is not just to share information and make decision what we're going to do this week or what we're going to do in general, but it's also create this social gathering feeling. And that's why even it seems that even they say, yes, sometimes this meeting turns out to be more like a social party in the beginning of the Monday, but it's extremely necessary to keep the ties with the organization. Otherwise those employees are feeling that they are working elsewhere and they are not connected anymore with us.
So as I understood, that physical presence in the work, despite the fact if it's formal meeting or informal activity, is really needed even when we have this e-tools and we have this digitalized possibility to work remotely.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes, and even they do, but there was also another observation or just a hint. They really see, and some of those respondents were very happy that finally they are not supposed to spend every single day at the office, and they said we are more productive. But at the same time, they have expressed also some doubts that sometimes the issue about the productivity is not so clear as we present it. That yes, and they also recognize that there are days they spend in a home, but they are not so productive as they would be in office, and vice versa. So it's still a bit individualistic, but the general sense is that yes, we are Homo sapiens, we are social animals, and from time to time we need to socialize with our colleagues just to have a feeling that we are still part of a tribe.
Thank you so much, Iveta. Thank you so much. And I was wondering, we found that in Lithuanian case, for example, part of employees do not have any expectations for leaders to help them to deal with burning out, to help them to socialize, to help them to solve any bigger problems and so on. My question is how to encourage leaders or how to educate leaders to notice such a gap of relationship between them and the employees. In our case, if the employee does not have any expectations for the leader, that means that the person is trying to deal with all the problems he or she has. And sometimes we know that the wisdom of the crowd or possibility to discuss the issue with colleagues might provide the solution in a better quality, faster, or more productive. So my question is how leaders can identify this situation when employees are left behind him. Do we have some, I don't know, signals in the practice? How we can notice this being leaders? What do you think, Professor Irma?
Well, I thought about that in German context, and I guess it's quite complicated topic or complex in general, a complex topic, and it requires not only leaders but also employees as such. So potentially, in case of trainings, we should include both of them, not only leaders. My first impression is that Lithuania is potentially much more individualistic oriented country than Germany, potentially. Not sure about that, but it is in Germany indeed the case that employees have some kind of understanding that they are not alone with problems. They have always their supervisor as a potential contact person in case of any problem. Whereas that is not the case in Lithuania, it seems to be. So at the end, it's about societal culture, but also about culture in organization, and about creating culture where, for example, having health problems is not weakness, not individual, not personal weakness, but a problem that should be addressed by all relevant partners, including supervisor. So it's indeed, in my view, kind of learning organization towards being able to address these problems without shame, without threat, without fear of being stigmatized. And it's absolutely an issue for trainings that should be provided for every employee and not only supervisors or leaders. Just as an idea, but at the end it's absolutely complex and long-lasting issue. And one easy way to begin with that would be to hold regular meetings, either in presence or in digital mode. Meetings where not only the agenda of the tasks is discussed, but agenda regarding the feelings and how our employees are doing. And that would potentially also strengthen social bonds, by the way. So just to have regular meetings is the must be in that case.
Thank you so much, Professor Irma. And you mentioned that it is very important for employees, both for employees as well as leaders, to talk about issues and not to be ashamed of some health issues or burning down. And what we have found in Lithuanian case about this, dealing with burning out, part of representatives of our focus groups mentioned that burning out is the issue of personal management. So individually solved problem. However, on talking with another supervisor and employee, we found that the supervisor noticed signals of physical appearance of the employee. And if the supervisor just noticed that, even it's not according to all regulations, the representative, the leader, sends the employee home to have a rest or recommends to take some days of vacation. Just, I guess, in this case, in our case, it becomes more even the personal ability or empathy, as you have mentioned before, to recognize problems which are dealing by the employees. And Iveta, I was wondering, you mentioned the social justice like a very important thing and complaining and so on. Can you a little bit disclose what about burning out issue? Does leaders contribute to the support of burning out employees or not? What is the case in Latvia?
Regarding the focus group, there we are no direct trend that leaders would recognize that burning out is a problem, because in a way there is a tendency or a trend, hey guys, what you're complaining about, because now you are not supposed to wake up early, you are at home, so what's wrong with you? Do you have problems to move your body from the bed to the desk? So it's a bit, yes, it's a bit, I would say, neglecting, but also beside that focus group, there is a general tendency that there is no burnout. And the burnout are for those who are weak, psychologically weak, but other ones are just just going to work or working and facing some kind of problems and struggling with those problems. So it's more like that trend, but it's again more like a social trend that you're not supposed to show your weakness, which is very, very, I would say, mainstream in Latvia at the current moment. And that means that why those employees have this really inner feeling of social injustice, that some has more freedom than others. Some has more extra options than others. I would say this is about.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. What we found with Rita from our focus group about burning out issue, one more very interesting quote was from supervisor who said those who are workaholics, they are just few and they will burn down just because they are workaholics. But majority of employees might pretend or to hide behind those workaholics, saying that they are burning down. So it's not like a massive problem, but maybe a problem of some people who tend to be very much too much involved in the working duties. So according to one of our representatives in focus group, it might be just pretending of burning out phenomenon, massive one in municipal administrations. It might be just a problem of few people and majority of people just covering themselves with those few examples. So this is what we found from our focus group. Dear colleagues, we have just 1 minute to finish, to sum up our interesting discussion and findings. Can I ask you a very short question? If you would be visionary and you had the duty for foresight of e-leadership in municipal administrations after 30 years, for example, in 2050, as our strategies are created usually till 2050. So what do you think, Professor Irma? Will e-leadership expand, shrink, or remain the same?
Well, I guess in 40 years we will have only artificial intelligence mechanisms where we will lead according to them, and there will not be a discussion about e-leadership. It will be a discussion about e-controlling. It's very pessimistic vision, but indeed, I guess that will be the case.
Thank you so much, Professor Irma. What about you, Professor Iveta? Do you agree or you have a different vision?
Well, Alliance is coming and they are here to stay. Sorry, but I assume after 40 years we will really fight strongly for the social bonds and our rights to be the Homo sapiens.
Thank you so much. So vision for e-leadership is more connected with the control and the changing environment, tools, and introduction of artificial intelligence in the whole duties, including in municipal administrations. And this is our main, I guess, vision of possibilities in the future. However, focusing on the results which were gained after the pandemics in recent years, we figure out that e-leadership in municipal organizations does not end with the, for example, possibility of finishing our pandemic period. That means that we learn some lessons from the pandemics. We learned how to use ICT tools. We learned how to work remotely. Of course, it raised some challenges of the lack of social bonds, the lack of social justice, and the differences of employment and possibility to work remotely. We have felt to some challenges such as what kind of capacities or skills should the leader have to control, to manage leadership processes in municipal administrations? However, we think that e-leadership is still a very relevant topic, and it will remain maybe introduced by additional tools, platforms, possibilities. However, it will remain one of the ways how leaders have to deal with leadership processes while we are living in digitalized environment. So I would like to thank you all for this wonderful participation and for your sharing with your wonderful insights about this topic. And I would like to thank once more to Eva Pranka, the Executive Director of the Baltic-German University Liaison Office, who was here with us during this discussion. The project of e-leadership in municipal organization, the post-pandemic analysis, is funded by the Baltic-German University Liaison Office with the support of the German Academic Exchange Service with funds from the Foreign Office of the Federal Republic Germany. And it was great honor for us to have this scientific discussion. And as we see, 1 hour is not enough to discuss all issues that we figure out. This is why we are going to continue this research, providing some publications, some articles on this topic, and presenting our results in different forms of popularity, scientific popularity. So thank you once more to Professor Irma, Professor Iveta, Dr. Rita Toleikienė, who our leader of the project, who were attending in the scientific discussion. Thank you very much for participants, and we hope to meet all of you in next RENET events.